you haven't played it already, but is there anything like you're seeing gameplay wise that really stands out to you?
Honestly, just the like no, I don't the parallels to the movie. It's like it's a lot of the shots seem like really accurate, and
Hmm.
I'm like ready to drop all my money and get like a console and play this game because it looks really damn cool.
Yeah, it is like the Lego humor just makes it so much better. Harith, I know you've already beat it.
Yeah, I already beat the main story. I haven't done the most of the side missions yet, so I'm still going around exploring and just trying to. Finally got my ×2 multiplier, so I'm finally getting like more things. I know like
Bugs and stuff.
we know like Jesse Matilio Sith Lord is like already like almost like well, he has 100% of it, right? Like already.
Yeah. So Jesse has beat. Excuse me, sorry if I keep coughing. That's because I'm sick right now. But yeah, Jesse has beat it already and has 100%ed multiple worlds. So that's like, I think he has like 40 hours logged into it already, or like 50 hours in a week,
That's nuts.
which is crazy. Hmm. And while talking about him, is popping off on TikTok recently. Gained like 5,000 followers in the past like 2 days from running around as Lego Gunk Palpatine. So if you guys don't already, definitely go check him out because that's like it's hilarious. But Michelle, tell all the guests where they can find you and your amazing content.
So I'm over mainly on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Michelle Aaron with 2 I's in the Aaron. And yeah, that's where you can find me ranting and making really stupid content about Star Wars that people seem to eat up.
No, that's awesome. What is there like a particular relationship in Star Wars that stands out to you, or that is like your favorite?
A favorite, honestly, would probably have to be Han and Leia, just like from the sentimental value as a kid and me being obsessed with Han Solo. It just
Hmm.
is probably one of my favorite relationships in Star Wars ever.
Yeah, I would agree. You can't really go wrong with them. What about you, Harith?
I gotta go with the classic Kanan and Hera, the classic non-toxic relationship.
Yeah, they're just so perfect. That means that you really need to read this because this is like so good for them, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, they're amazing. Honestly, my favorite's probably Kanan and Hera too, just because like Rebels is like my thing now. So and they're just so perfect. They're so perfect. So
I would say a good run.
yeah, I'd probably have to go Kanan and Hera.
I would say a good runner-up is Sienna and Thane.
Yeah, they are really good too, but they're like the exact opposite. They're
Oh.
like the most toxic thing ever. Yeah, Santa Thane. But the ones we're gonna be covering tonight are, let me bring it up. Which Michelle, Santa and Thane are from a book called Lost Stars. It's like it's really good. It makes me cry.
The best way
every
to
time.
describe it is Romeo and Juliet in space.
Okay.
Yeah, and like star-crossed lovers kind of thing, and it's written so well.
I'm gonna need it.
But anyway, yeah, that's definitely like that's a really good starter one because it takes place during the original trilogy.
Ooh.
So it's like they start out when they're little kids, and then they kind of grow up and then progress through the original trilogy, and the end is on the Battle of Jakku, which is like the last battle in the Galactic
Nice.
Civil War. So it's pretty cool. But the ones we're going to be talking about today are Han and Leia, excuse me, Anakin and Padme, Obi-Wan and Satine, Kanan and Hera, Jyn, Erso, and Rey and Kylo. And then if we feel like we missed one, we can
I
always
was saying
go
you
back.
mean Jin and Cassian. You said Jin, Urso, and Rey and Kylo.
I said Jyn and Erso.
You said Jin and Urso instead of Jin and Cassian.
Oh, well, I meant to say Jyn and Cassian and Kylo and Rey. So, Harith, I'll let you kind of take it away if you want to start talking about Han and Leia.
Yeah, again, that was funny enough. Michelle did say that was her favorite, so that's I went like just like last time I went in release order, so I'm going like where the order of the relationships have been shown through Star Wars. So yeah, starting with Han and Leia. Michelle, take it away since you're the guest here.
All right. I mean,
What moments of Han and Leia kind of stick out to you? And let's go in from A New Hope first. We'll just move movie by movie.
oh boy. Okay. In A New Hope, just right off the bat, the sarcasm. I don't know why I'm like a sucker for like the not like the enemy to lover type of thing that they have. It's like they kind of start off hating each other, pretending they hate each other, and then finally Empire Strikes Back like progresses, and then even in Return of the Jedi, they're still kind of like sarcastic and kind of like snap at each other, but in a more like endearing way, which I love that about them. Like I don't know, it's the most unromantic romantic thing. I don't know, it feels like they're just two kids fighting sometimes, and like I love that.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
No, yeah, for sure.
and like A New Hope, like especially like is like the way like they argue and bicker and all the way through Empire, and then like Return of the Jedi, like I like how like that like it transitions into like this like nice like cute relationship of like Leia and Han like acknowledge each other, and like well like my favorite Han and Leia moment from the OT still has to be Leia saying I know to back to Han.
Yes.
And the way that they did the "I love you, I know" in Lego had me laughing so hard, because Han gets put in the carbonite, and then she's like, "I love you," and then he's like, and then the door gets slammed on him, and then like these like letters of like a cake or something pop up and that say "I know." It was really cute, really funny. And then there's the whole love triangle between Han, Luke, and Leia, which is just weird. And like whenever people are like, man, the sequels had no planning, it's like you know Luke and Leia kissed, right?
Yeah.
In Empire Strikes Back, and they're like, oh well, George Lucas. Anyway, so yeah, there's just something about that, and especially like her being so feisty and her just not being that normal girl character that like everyone was kind of used to, especially whenever the movie released. There's just something about that, and something about like the first thing we hear Leia say is like, "Give me your blaster," like basically shut up and listen to me while I'm gonna get you guys out of here. So really unique with Leia, and then like seeing that contrast with Han's character, who's like that scoundrel who isn't really used to being bossed around much, is very interesting. And in Empire, whenever they are in the asteroid field and they're in like the back room and they're like about to kiss, and 3PO like interrupts the kiss, you're like, 3PO, no, you damn it.
Painful to watch almost. I'm like, ugh.
It is.
But
You're saying something here?
I was gonna say, but I really enjoy like the way it progresses from the OT to the sequel trilogies. I really love Han and Leia's relationship in Force Awakens, mainly simply because of the first half I read of Bloodline does a really good job of establishing the like the human relationship between Han and Leia, and it just like I already liked it, but like it made me like click and understand it more, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense for why they've fallen for each other type of like thing, of like seeing like Han is like a good dad, and like Leia like working as a senator in the New Republic. It really enhances the relationship there.
Yeah, so this book right here is what he's talking about. It's called Bloodline, written by Claudia Gray. It's really, really good, and it just like a little bit of light spoilers. It's just nothing to really do with the plot line, but Han and Leia's relationship in the sequels, I think gets twisted into something it's not, because I feel like a lot of people will call Han like the downbeat dad of the galaxy, which is really not what it is. And it's more of just like they've made amends with each other, that like they both have duty and duty calls. So it kills Leia not to go with Han. Like there is a point where Leia was this close from dropping everything of being a senator and going off with Han and living a happy life with Han while Ben trains with Luke. And then just stuff happens and she is forced to do what her duty calls. So it's just like it's really sad when you come down to think of it. Like all Leia wants to do is go live with Han and do smuggler stuff across the galaxy, but she can't because she's Leia Organa, and she can't because this whole First Order thing is coming, and because she's Vader's daughter, she can't do anything. So it's really sad. And yeah, like the moments in those books when they're together, it's just really it hurts so good.
And like thinking more about it, I think Han and Leia's relationships, favorite moments are probably from Force Awakens, more stuff like where like when like Leia's like Han's like, hey, I'm helpful, and she's like, name the one time you're helpful, don't name the Death Star, like stuff like that. like they have like those moments are like my favorite Han and Leia moments. Like I changed my answer. Yeah, I would say Force Awakens too. Definitely have my like favorite Han and Leia moments because they're just like, I don't know, like I love them as like the old married couple. Yeah. But yeah,
but it's just a lot what they are. I think anything else with Han and Leia. I know we'll get Kiki's opinion whenever she drops in, but yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, but before we switch on to our next topic, Element 7 in the chat just said Leia's Her Highness. That's how you describe like Han's relationship with Leia, which I find hilarious.
Yeah, because she is just like that above Han. In Return of the Jedi, we didn't even talk about like anything Return of the Jedi. Whenever Leia gets shot, in the
I
like
I mentioned that earlier. The I love you, I know.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that. And then obviously like just seeing how happy they are in the end of Return of the Jedi with like the victory celebration scene, like that scene is done so well. I know some people. What'd you say?
I just rewatched it and I was like in tears the entire time, absolutely sobbing. It's just so perfect.
It's just perfect. No, it like everyone says Empire is the best. Empire is my favorite, but it switches because that third act of Return of the Jedi is so freaking good. It like carries everything. It carries all of Star Wars. That does so freaking much. I know if Char Char J is listening right now, he's gonna probably kill me because I said that Empire Strikes Back wasn't the best movie ever. But yeah, like there's something about it that, like, even the Jabba's palace stuff, I think is widely overhated.
Why do people hate it?
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to figure the same thing out. Like, it's stupid. It's Star Wars. A lot of stuff in Star Wars doesn't make sense.
The most criticisms I've heard for Return of the Jedi is mainly like the middle act of the Ewoks.
Here's what I gotta say to that. You take a literal bear that knows how to communicate together and build things, that have thumbs and can build things, and are in the wild planning traps. Like they're gonna be super powerful.
All I have to say
that's all I gotta say.
All I have to say to that is Ewok on Battlefront 2.
Yes. Ewok Hunt is the scariest game mode of anything ever that I've played.
It's so funny because if you think it from the Empire's point of view, like these little teddy bears are running around hunting them down and like trapping them, and like it's just like it's like a horror movie.
Yeah, from the I would love to see a book written, or even if it's not like a book or just like a short story and like Return of the Jedi, certain point of view, where we get the point of view from some Jedi, or not some Jedi, some stormtroopers, and just to see like the fear in their eyes.
Yes.
Kiki, what's up?
Hey.
How's it going?
What's going on? Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. I'm in the middle of cooking dinner, so I might randomly vanish at different points.
Okay, you're all good. What are you cooking?
I'm making cod and asparagus.
Nice.
Oh, fancy. Yeah. Asparagus is really good. Asparagus is underrated.
It is.
Overhated and underrated.
That's facts. But we're talking about Han and Leia. So, like, what are your thoughts on Han and Leia? I know it's kind of a broad thing, but
pack that. I mean, Han and Leia, I mean, they're kind of the original Star Wars couple, aren't they? You know, or at least the original Star Wars hetero couple. And I mean, growing up, I was just like head over heels in love with it because it was like the enemy to lovers story, essentially. But then, like, when you get older, you look at it through a very different lens, and you're like, you know, Han Solo's kind of just like antagonizes the living daylights out of Leia. And as an adult woman, you're like, dude, that would not work for me. Like, someone who just continuously antagonizes me, being someone that I end up getting attracted to, I don't think. It's definitely somebody wrote that who was not talking to women.
Someone, yeah. It's like, I feel like a lot of Star Wars guys are really bad at flirting.
Yeah.
Like, we got Kylo, who's like, you're nothing. Your parents sold you for drinking money. You're literally nothing. But I'm not. And you're like, what are you doing? You're the worst flirter of all time, man.
Like, the only person like has game is like Lando, and even then you're like,
because we for sure know Anakin doesn't.
no.
But like, I don't know, like I love like that whole like dynamic, and also it gets so funny when you realize that almost every Star Wars main relationship in all 3 trilogies, the age gap is 10 years. That's the weird part.
Yeah. Because like, how old is Han again? Like
29.
Right.
And then Leia's 19.
She's
and then,
she's 19 when they meet.
and then
Yeah.
Wait, how old is? No, Anakin and Padme are the same age.
They're
No.
7 years.
They are,
7 years.
5 or 7.
5 or 7. Because he's 12 when they meet, right?
Anakin's 9 and Padme's 14.
That's it.
So 5 years, which isn't awful.
And then awful when Kylo
Especially
and
when
Rey's
you're
10
older,
years.
it's not that bad.
Really?
Kylo and Rey's 10.
Yeah.
He's 29.
Yeah, because
Are you sure about that?
Because he left the Order around 18, and then 6 years he was Kylo Ren, and then to Force Awakens, yeah, he would have been 27, and then Rey would have been 19. No, so it's like 8 years.
Okay.
Oh, that's like
Wow.
still a lot.
It's just
kinda,
a lot to process.
Yeah.
Nice.
I wonder what the age gap between like Obi-Wan and Satine is.
I can't imagine that one being big.
No, I
I
don't
always
know.
thought that they were like around the same age.
No more than 3 years, maybe?
I shall return. I'm going to check on the food.
Right.
Yeah, don't burn it. Satine, how old is Satine Kryze? Satine Kryze is 38 when she died. How is Obi-Wan? And we'll just go episode 3.
Well, when they meet, Obi-Wan is
38.
Well, I mean, when Obi-Wan met.
So they're both like 38.
No.
Okay.
No, when Obi-Wan met Satine, it would have been, I think Julia put down the year, because in Master Apprentice he's 17, and Julia said about 2 years, so Obi-Wan met him when he was about 19.
He's 38 in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So that I guess that's a normal one. Kanan and Hera.
I think they're around the
How-
same age.
Yeah, I would assume.
I hope.
Kanan. Jarrus, we'll go season 4.
I will say that like with Padme and Anakin, I always like when I was younger, right, and like a young teen or something, I was like, this doesn't seem weird at all. And then grown adult years later, I'm like, I don't know if I met somebody when I was like, I don't know. For me, it would be too weird. Like I knew you when you were 9. You know what I'm saying? It'd be too weird. For me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't blame you.
Kiki, how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was gonna be. Okay.
But I was gonna say, like,
I was gonna be like, 'cause-
oh, sorry.
what?
I was gonna say,
No, you're good.
I think that's a good transition point to Anakin and Padme.
Yeah. Because that's like, I don't know. It's just awkward all the time. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Overall thoughts, Anakin and Padme. I know it's a lot, but like just to start with, we'll go Kiki first.
Actually, go ahead and start with Michelle because there's loud things happening outside. It's mine, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, okay.
Oh boy. There's a lot to talk about with them. It's very romantic and mutual yet toxic at the same time, but like
It's
Padme's just like, yes, I want all of it. I don't care like what you do, like love me. It's just like I'm here for it. Don't get me wrong, they're adorable, but like I don't know. It doesn't seem
he's just like so protective over her.
too
and,
protective.
Too protective.
Like, which I didn't think was a thing. Like, he is way too protective. It's
Yeah.
but
Like,
their good are really good.
There's a scene in Queen's Hope where
with spoilers because the book just came out.
spoilers for Queen's Hope if you haven't read it, which you probably haven't, but oh well. Where like Sabe, who is one of Padme's handmaids, is displaying herself as Padme while Padme's gone, and Anakin like barges into the room and is like, "Who are you? You're not Padme." Blah blah blah, and like almost like kills her, and she's like, "Dude, chill, calm down. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying. I didn't kill your wife. I'm just your friend."
Like I'm just her handmaid. Like I'm just like pretending to be her. She's on a mission.
Yeah.
When I was younger, like I was absolutely in love with like Padme and Anakin's story. But you also have to look at like when those movies came out, when the actual relationship started, I was about like a teenager. So for me, I was just like,
Oh snap!
the best love story ever made. And like me and like all these people. And so it's really funny, like now years later, hearing people be like, God, that relationship was like so cringy and weird and like, oh my word. And I've been trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, it was cringy and weird as an adult when you watch it, but it's kind of like how people talked about Turning Red, and they're like, why is it so cringy and it's like, but that's what it's like to be like a preteen or teenager.
Yeah.
Love is cringy and weird. So like watching this as a teenage girl being like, yeah, that totally sounds like love forever. It totally makes sense, and I think that would work out great. Like like this cringy relationship where it's like, I don't like sand, it's coarse. I'm like, come on, like that is a lie that a teenage boy would say to a teenage girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to talk to this pretty girl. Oh my God, what do I say? I don't like sand. Like, yeah, I'm like, that makes sense as an adult looking back on it.
And it tracks also because like you got to think it from Anakin's point of view. He's grown up in the Jedi Order for about like 10 years now. He has like doesn't have relationships due to like to the Order itself, besides his relationship with Obi-Wan and the Council. So like he wouldn't know how to flirt with a girl anyway. So like it like totally tracks like Anakin's character.
Anakin probably has never talked to a girl.
I think
Padme is probably
all
like
his
one of the
friendships
handful of girls that he has talked to.
they would have all been like a platonic like relationship of some kind, right? With any like women that he would have had growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, that man's probably just starving. Anakin was was starving at that point. It's like whenever they're in the field.
I just remember being obsessed with like Padme, and I was like, but why won't she say yes to him? Like the teenage girl.
Well, it's almost like Twilight. I feel like that's like another thing where like a lot of teenage girls are
that
like,
was my
Twilight is so good. And like you watch it later and you're like, this is just
Awful.
not good. This is just not good.
Yeah, as an adult. I did have one friend though. Like I had one friend who has told me time and time again that the Clone Wars series Anakin is the true Anakin Skywalker. And I was like, I watched the Clone Wars series and I'm like, yeah, that really is like the true Anakin. Like, granted, like I think when you watch the Clone Wars, like, well, you watch like the movies, but when you watch the Clone Wars series, you realize like how toxic that relationship is. But the series, they actually say that Anakin says the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah.
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 That's what happens.
Yep.
Like
Rush Clovis.
Oh.
So like
Rush.
That was the most Anakin thing that he did.
Yeah.
It was entertaining to watch.
It was very entertaining to watch. It's like, Anakin, calm down.
The funny thing enough, the biggest moment in Anakin and Padme's relationship, it's like, can't say because it's in a book, it's Thrawn Alliances. That's the biggest Anakin Padme. I'm like, oh, that moment. Oh, yeah, yikes.
There's a big there's a giant moment in Thrawn Alliances where Padme's just looking at Anakin and she's like,
What are you doing?
you just murdered a lot of people and destroyed a lot of people's homes.
And Thrawn's like, hey,
What are
can
you doing?
Thrawn's like, can you say something? Can you do something to like prevent this? And she's like, when Anakin's like this, I just can't do anything. You're just like, oh my
Thrawn's
god.
like, Anakin, stop. Thrawn's like, Anakin, stop. Padme's like, Anakin, stop. And Anakin's like, keep firing.
You're just like, what the hell?
Anakin, stop.
He
Please.
needs therapy, in my opinion.
He does need therapy. You know, like, all it would have taken was some just good old therapy and not just talking to Yoda. Like, they need to just have some third-party Jedi therapist come in that could have somehow told him how to correctly balance Padme and the Jedi Order, and all of it would have been eliminated.
I will say though, that moment where he gets in a fight with Clovis, I was talking with some other folks, you guys might have been there, and I was joking, I was like, that was the moment that Anakin remembered he grew up on Tatooine. It's like the switch got turned on in his head. It's like, I forgot where I was raised. Like, just like starts throwing punches, and I was like, that's somebody who remembered where they got raised and like the conditions they grew up in. Like, it was like this moment that like I was sitting there, I was like, that was like almost this like, and then Anakin remembered he got raised in the hood. Like, that was the moment watching it. I was like, that was the moment Anakin remembered who the fuck he was.
Anakin's like, Mama ain't raised no bitch.
Yeah.
No, because
I'll be right back. Keep going.
no, I was gonna say it reminds me of the deleted scene of in Phantom Menace where Anakin's beating the hell out of Greedo, like because he got mad because he was saying he didn't really win the race.
Yes.
Because he cheated, and then Qui-Gon's just like, why are you getting so triggered about this? You know you won. He doesn't think you won. What is this conflict?
Yeah. And also, whenever they're in the field and they're sitting down and Anakin's like, no, we need people that are going to tell everyone what to do. He's like, we don't need democracy. And Padme's like, okay, honey.
No, she's like,
Literally.
she's like, it sounds a little bit like a dictatorship to me.
I feel like half the time when Anakin talks and Padme's listening, she's kind of just like, yes, dear. And just to like shut him up and like move on, because the shit that he says is
yeah.
But like,
until he chokes her out.
Again, I can not speak nothing for praise for the Queen's trilogy, because like it did make me realize, I was like, okay, I understand why Anakin and Padme fell for each other. It's because they both live these lives of like high class of like secrets and they can't tell anybody, so they kind of like confine in each other, and like so like it makes sense that they would fall for each other because they're living these two double lives of like the Jedi and then their personal life. I mean, her as senator and her personal life. So it makes sense that like they have all these doors and barriers that the only time they could ever like consign each other is each other. So it does make sense that I feel like Anakin and Padme would fall for each other.
And I think too, like just like you said, to go off of that, you know, you're both kind of growing up in environments where, let me be real, they kind of didn't have an adolescence or childhood, really.
No.
Like, no. You know, like a normal like 14-year-old and like a 9-year-old who are going to eventually grow up and have these social interactions, have these social moments with each other, learn and grow and engage with other people their age. They didn't get to have that. And so in many ways, I kind of look at it and been like, these are two people who did not have what I think are extremely key adolescent moments. And even like, and I'm not saying that you have to date someone to have a good adolescent moment, but they didn't have the social life of young adolescents to engage with other people and be like, oh, this is something I'm okay with in a partner. This is something that is a red flag. They didn't have that. And so they kind of just latched onto each other. Whereas I think if they'd both grown up without the Jedi Order, without being like a politician at 14, they probably would have been like, yeah, no, you're not for me.
Yeah, I feel like, and I also feel like growing up and like dating, you know, a big part of dating is realizing qualities that you like in someone to then eventually get married. Right. Something I've kind of learned the past few months going through like breakups and stuff, but like I just feel like that's something that you learn, is just how to like red flags that maybe you didn't see in that person that you're gonna see like later on, kind of stuff. And they both like Padme's elected as queen at 9 years old, right? which is crazy.
That's
9
wild.
years old, she's elected queen of an entire planet, and Anakin's been enslaved his whole life. So like they don't have those middle school boyfriends and girlfriends. They just they have no life besides each other.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they also live lives where, frankly, there's not healthy boundaries.
No.
Yeah.
Like, Padme's always working. Anakin's always working. There's, like, no healthy boundary in their life for, like,
Yeah.
time.
Yep. Yeah, and especially like even like Anakin obviously was like enslaved and only had a few friends, but like Padme, you would think would have a big social life, but Panaka did not let her have a social life. Panaka had her basically on lock with her and her handmaidens, and that was it. So, yeah, it's just crazy that they just I don't know, they're just destined for failure, which kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Choco says in the chat, Padme was 14 when she was elected queen. So
Yeah.
sorry about that.
It's still so young.
It's still so
I can't
young.
imagine doing anything, like, with any level of power at 14. It'd have been a disaster.
I know. And like when she was 14, even before that, she was still doing stuff with her father, that like going and helping save planets when she was like a kid, like a young kid. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think anything else you guys want to touch on Anakin and Padme?
I think
I always felt like, I think Michelle brought up a good point, which is like, how different would this whole bit if Anakin had therapy?
Yeah.
Like, if Anakin had had access to a therapist, because that's always like the one big thing I talk about with Star Wars. I'm like, Star Wars would not have happened if Anakin had had access to a therapist that specialized in trauma. Star Wars wouldn't have happened.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I know you guys haven't read, but like the High Republic, there's a character in the High Republic who is very similar to Anakin, but they have like Jedi therapists almost, and he taps in the dark side and they're like, okay, calm down, and then he does, and they deal with it and deal with other things, and it's like, why did they have to become so dogmatic? And then it was just
Yeah.
prequel Jedi. And then I do wish that we got more of Anakin and Padme in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Padme got
Because-
really screwed out of that movie.
Yeah, I really like Revenge of the Sith, but I just wish that we got more Padme,
Like,
especially.
she had an entire arc in that movie they just cut out.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
all-
Because didn't they have her like essentially planning the beginnings of the rebellion?
yeah, her and Mon
Yes.
Mothma and Bail Organa were talking about the beginnings of the
Mhm.
rebellion, so I like the idea that Anakin and Palpatine were secretly creating the Empire, and then you have Padme and Bail secretly building the rebellion, going against each other without realizing it.
And I always like you said, it's sad they removed that, because I think it adds. One of my biggest problems with Revenge of the Sith, as you guys have talked about, is that essentially Padme is like pregnant. That's her story. She's pregnant. And it's like, it completely changes everything about Padme for them to show the rebellion began with her. Of course it did. Of course it began with her.
About ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her, Bail, and Mon Mothma were
The OGs.
like they were sus right whenever Palpatine got full power.
Mhm.
And then they just didn't show anything like it. Like, no, like we want to see like creation. It sucked. I mean, there is that deleted scene, but it's not canon with like.
And then I also
should be.
am sad they removed the concept art of Padme showing up the Mustafar with a knife. Because she originally, in the concept art,
Yeah.
she was going to show up with the Mustafar with a knife and like attempt to kill Anakin, but she couldn't go through with it.
yeah, and like that's, I feel like that's Padme. Like Padme is a extremely strong character, and they're just like, oh, she's pregnant, she can't do anything. Like, no, Padme is an extremely strong woman, and she can do stuff while she's pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
But is there
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we move on?
I'm good.
It never sat right with me that Anakin was running around the freaking galaxy. Excuse me, while his like wife is like pregnant. I'll say it. And I know everybody's gonna be like, they'll be like, well, there's this reason. I'm like, dude, let me get pregnant, have like a baby coming, and my husband's running around doing what now in the galaxy?
Yeah.
Yeah. But moving on to an interesting one, Obi-Wan and Satine, which is sad to say the least. But what are you guys' thoughts on Obi-Wan and Satine? Let's go Kiki first.
I felt like it was, I'm trying to think if there's any other couple I can apply this to. In the main characters, I think it was the most mature relationship that we saw in Star Wars. I was like, when I watched that, I was like, and I mean, like, if Kanan and Hera too, like, they're mature, but in the way of like, I'll take that back. Kanan and Hera are also like a very mature relationship, but Obi-Wan and Satine, I was like, finally, there's some adults who are in a relationship and they're acting like adults right now. Like, everything they do, it is an adult reaction.
Yeah.
It is adult, like, figuring out how to do the things. All of this makes sense of how they and why they are doing things. And it's just so refreshing, because one thing that I always find extraordinarily frustrating about media that is either aimed at young adults or it's aimed at children, which sometimes I think a lot of times Star Wars is aimed right at that PG, acceptable for children, families stuff, is that they downplay the intelligence of the adult characters. And they downplay the emotions and the reactions of the adult characters, because they're like, but a child won't understand why adults do thing. And I'm like, they might not fully understand it, but they also might not fully understand why their parents do certain things. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, they might not understand why mom is so upset that dad didn't do the dishes. They'll understand one day. Like, that's part of being a kid, is that you don't always understand why adults feel and act certain ways. And it's okay to show that to kids.
Well, I think that's something that Star Wars does incredible, is that I think we've all been watching Star Wars since we've been kids. And as we mature, we start to pick up little things that the story, like, that we kind of missed out, and that, like, the story's a lot deeper than you see whenever you're a little kid, just thinking it's space wizards and laser swords. But yeah, like, I agree. I agree with you there, Kiki. And Michelle.
Again, I agree. Like, they're a very mature relationship, which is kind of refreshing to see, especially in the Clone Wars, which is a pretty hectic show. Like, overall, when you think about it, just stuff is always constantly happening, and they just always manage to, like, keep their composure. And I love how Obi-Wan is able to, like, kind of be in a relationship but still, like, respect, like, the Jedi way. Like, it's very interesting to see, compared to Anakin, who's just all over the place, doesn't really know what he's doing, and again, needs therapy. And Obi-Wan is, like, finding that balance. And I do wish that Obi-Wan and Anakin, like, would have spoken about the, like, relationship dynamic, because I feel like Obi-Wan ultimately could have helped Anakin figure out all of his stuff with Padme and how to go about it properly, considering his relationship with Satine. So it's just, like, a part I really wish I saw in Star Wars.
Yeah. You're right, like, it is refreshing just from all these, like, toxic bad couples, and, like, we get, like, oh, like Kiki said, like, they are extremely mature, and again, they just know that duty calls, and that, like, oh, we're not going to be able to be with each other, but we can still be in love.
And the way I think I described it the same way last episode for our relationship part 1 was, I say Anakin and Padme and Obi-Wan Satine are direct mirrors of each other. Because what I like what Clone Wars did with Obi-Wan's character is they made Obi-Wan and Anakin very similar, but they went very different in their paths. Anakin chose attachments and love, while Obi-Wan chose duty and like what the Jedi Order means to him. So I love how Obi-Wan Satine are like Anakin and Padme, but like what if they pick completely different choices?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do we have any quirky Kenobis here tonight?
No.
Michelle?
I am a believer in that theory. I'm like, come on now.
I don't believe in it. I like to have some hope that there's some relation somewhere and some. I don't know. I just love the idea of it. I don't have any.
The only thing I'm gonna say is that like Bo-Katan is the only sibling, and Bo-Katan ain't ever talked about a kid. So it automatically brought up questions for me. I was like,
They never spoke about it, but the maturity. They could have just maturely said, "We can't say shit."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I
They
just.
could have just swept it under the table and been like, well, this was an accident.
We don't know.
Let's keep going.
It probably isn't, but you know, I like to have my little thoughts in my little dream world because it would be so nice. It would be.
I think it would be hilarious if we just see Corky come to Obi-Wan's like cave on Tatooine. It's like, hi, Dad, and he's like,
What?
Everybody thinks it's gonna be like a Force Ghost of Qui-Gon.
and it's quirky,
just showing up.
but like,
I wouldn't be mad if that was the plot twist.
For Julia's sake, I would allow it.
No. Yeah, if you don't follow Julia Christine on TikTok, she's like the CEO of Corky Kenobi. Which I learned. Did you know that there's only one Corky Cries merchandise, and it's a card?
Really?
Huh.
Mm-hmm. It's
I
a
d-
fun fact. There's no like shirts or anything with like official merchandise. The only thing is a Topps card. It's worth like $10.
And what I would jokingly say to that is, funny enough, there's a bunch of interviews online where people will ask Filoni about it, and he'll just completely dodge the question. Like, he won't even acknowledge it.
Well, he probably
He
thinks it's stupid.
No, he knows what he's doing, which is the funnier thing, because he knows he's like, oh, I'm gonna make this character that looks like Obi-Wan and Satine together, but I'm never gonna confirm or deny it, so we're just gonna let the fans like fester on it.
Until one day they just decide to randomly whip something out at us and we'll be like, huh?
They'd be like, oh.
Out of the
what?
left field, he's like I said, out of the left, or like you said, randomly in the Kenobi show, he's just gonna show up, be like, "What's up, Dad?" What?
Or we're gonna get an Obi-Wan Satine book,
That's
and at
what
the
a
end of the
magic-
book, the last line is gonna be like, and Satine felt a bump on her belly, and then like it just like.
And then Satine had morning sickness, and that's it. We're like, "What?"
Like, look, on that note, like, I've been not joking, but I know Julia, and like, I've kind of been pitching in my head of like, I want a Master and Apprentice too, but it's Obi-Wan Satine's relationship, and then you can have flashbacks to Qui-Gon's relationship, because they do canonize that, his Legends relationship and Master and Apprentice. And you can have like a dual storyline of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in different eras going through relationships.
Yeah, I think it'd actually be funny if the book started with her. If the book almost starts like a sex scene, and then she's pregnant throughout the whole book, and then they have to like skirmish away to figure out how to like deal with this kid and like a really good cover up. I think that would be really funny to see.
But also,
Like, I don't want it to happen, but like I think it'd be a really cool book, like just them scrambling as like it's like a teenage baby, and they're just like scrambling how to do this.
but I also think Claudia Gray would also, is because of the way she is, I feel like she would end the book with like Satine's death, or like Satine in her prison cell before it happens.
No, she would end the book with the child would be born. So like Obi-Wan, no, Satine would take like a 9-month leave, like just out of nowhere, and be like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And she'd be like, "Oh, I just needed time to myself." And then she would, at the end of the book, have the kid be born. Then in the epilogue, Satine's death.
Mm-hmm.
That's if it happens. I said it now.
I called it.
I called it. But yeah, anything else on them? I mean, Corky Kenobi's kind of the big takeaway there. Anything else? We can kind of move on to the next animated couple, which is Kanan and Hera, my favorite. So good. They're just perfect. I don't know. I'll let you guys talk first. So whoever wants to.
You go first.
Okay. I like them because I haven't watched all of Rebels. I've watched Matt most favorite. I watched the part where Darth Vader showed up on the TIE fighter. That was the most important that was like, that's what I was like, well, there it is. There's Anakin. There's Anakin. He showed up.
Anakin.
He brought the portable
That's
high ground.
Anakin on that TIE fighter right there.
I always joke it's the portable high ground. He just learned from
literally. That line rung in his ears for the rest of his life, and he's like, I need to always be on the high ground now. But I liked, like, just in the way that I said, like, this is another example of mature adult relationship. It's also, I think, from my memory, kind of his first time you really see within Star Wars movie shows, whatever movie. A couple that is in love, that is working together.
Mm-hmm.
And not inherently a toxic relationship. And they can be together. So now that I'm thinking about it, like, we don't really get to see a lot of that in Star Wars.
Not like working together like power couple kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, like Han and Leia, I guess you could kind of say, but they're kind of toxic.
Yeah.
They're not like, they're just like, Kanan and Hera are just a pure relationship that they just work together, they better each other, they learn from each other, and I think that's like the biggest thing. Like, there's so many moments where when Hera's teaching Kanan and like helping him go about his ways in training and stuff like that. But Michelle?
I mean, I love the relationship. It just like, they honestly feel like parents because of everybody else in the Ghost Group. It kind of just feels like they're always like looking out for everyone. And again, like the power couple, I feel like they're what Han and Leia could have been if they weren't built on sarcasm. You know?
Yeah.
They could have been doing this on like the Falcon, but no, they didn't.
But no,
it's just,
yeah.
But it's such a nice relationship to see, and it's interesting also because it's like a Jedi, but not in like reformed like the Jedi ways, you know? So it's so nice to see what a Jedi relationship could have been if they weren't so strict about, you know, the rules about relationships. Like, it could have been possible to be a Jedi and have a relationship and, you know, still be passionate about the Jedi Order and like bringing peace and all that. So I really love like that piece of it.
But if it wasn't for Hera, Kanan probably wouldn't have even trained Ezra, wouldn't have even been back into being a Jedi in the way that he was. And you see a lot of that in A New Dawn. This book is really good. It's their backstory. It's like how they met each other, because it's like, it's really funny because Kanan's kind of acting like this bachelor who's going around from planet to planet just like hooking up with girls, and then he meets this Twi'lek who just starts being the crap out of everyone, and he's like amazed by her, and then like they go off and do their thing. But yeah, they're just so perfect. I think a good example of them, of like her teaching Kanan, I've said this like multiple times in this podcast, so if you listen a lot you probably have heard this, but like the Trials of the Darksaber episodes are like a perfect, so Kiki, this is minor spoilers, it's in season 3 if you care.
Okay. I'll watch it eventually, but go ahead.
It's not a minor spoiler because she knows what happens in the Mandalorian and that kind of stuff, and how it, like the Darksaber
yeah,
around hands.
So when Sabine has like the Darksaber, basically Kanan's being like super cautious with the way that he's teaching her, and then eventually Hera's like, what are you doing? Like, you didn't do this with Ezra. Why are you not trusting her? And then he admits to like not being a good teacher, and then lets her actually use the Darksaber while she's learning to fight and stuff like that. So they're just healthy. They're very, very healthy, and they learn from each other.
No, my favorite moment, like line from Hera when she said that the Kanan like is, you're hurting her by not giving her the Darksaber, because her entire life she's been like fighting against, trying to prove that like she's worthy, and like you not giving her the Darksaber and treating her different is just proving her right.
Yeah.
You're making her have more doubts.
Exactly. Kiki, do you know the big thing that happens in Rebels?
Which big thing?
Like
Like
the
where
big
Ron and like Ezra end up like on the
No,
stage
not that. The
where
other one.
they have a kid, right?
Well, yeah, but before that. If
There
no,
are too
then
many big things. This is like, hey, do you remember that big thing that happened in the Star Wars universe?
No, but like
Which
there's
one?
like
Pray tell.
okay, I don't know if you got it. Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
no.
I
'Cause it's
probably
like,
already know, and if I don't, it's gonna be fine because I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Hereth, do you want to say it?
Canon's death.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
Okay. Something I think that's really neat.
I'm like obvious.
Well, I didn't know because I have friends right now who I have watching Rebels and they have no clue anything that happens.
No clue
And I'm like, I
really.
feel so bad for you. I am so
I
sorry.
don't know.
So
Okay.
he's just gonna die and they're gonna like be dead for because I cry. I still cry when I watch that scene. I'm gonna be honest. Like I was watching it with my ex-girlfriend and just crying like for like an hour straight after watching that episode. I can't. But that's like one of the only times in Star Wars where we get to see the spouse mourning after the death. And it is powerful. Like those episodes, like there's a scene with Hera holding her Kalikori, cuddled up next to Chopper, and she's just like, "This is my fault."
And then
you're like,
it's,
"Oh!"
It's even more sad because she adds Kanan to her family lineage of like the Kalikori. So it's just like extra depressing, and like the whole episode is just great because it's the entire crew mourning for Kanan, and they're all going through it in different ways. Like Zeb's rageful, Hera's like depressed, Ezra just doesn't know what to do, so he's like bargaining with himself. It's like awesome seeing like everyone like equally go through this path of like how do we go forward.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't get to see that a lot. Like one of the most powerful moments in Rebels is whenever they step off the ship and Zeb's like, "Hey guys, where's Kanan?" And Sabine just starts crying, and you're like, "Oh,
You're like, pain.
pain."
Well, and it's also, I'm trying to think, like, of the couples that we have just mentioned while I've been on here. It's one of, no, I guess it does kind of. So for me, when I watch media, I have had so much media in my life where it ends up being the woman dies for the man's development, his character arc. She gets fridged. And like Leia outlives Han. And then Hera outlives Kanan. And you're right. We do see some level of sadness from Leia at the loss of Han and it's like, but we don't really get to see Leia processing that. And that relationship lasted like what? I can't remember, like 26
yeah.
right? A 20 plus year relationship. Yeah. Whereas I don't know how long Hera and Kanan's is supposed to
I think around 10
Was it 11
years?
years?
Probably like 10 or 11 years.
Really a significant one, but like Han and Leia, like they raised a kid together, like they literally built a freaking galaxy together, right? And you don't really get to see Leia process the loss of her husband. And I mean, there's obvious like real world reasons why that happens, right? Because Carrie Fisher passed away, but it's also like
it sucks because in Last Jedi they retoolized a scene that was originally supposed to be, because there's two scenes in the sequel trilogy where you think about it, like Leia processes Han's death. It's
10 years.
Yeah,
10 years.
Force Awakens when she drops when Han dies, and then there was another scene in Last Jedi or when they jump out of hyperspace and she's staring at the cup. They recalculated it's like her like thinking about like the soldiers that died, but originally it was supposed to be Luke and Leia connecting through the Force and mourning at the same time. But they retoolized it for a different scene.
That would have been amazing. But yeah, like episodes of Rebels, like seeing, like there's a whole episode just dedicated to mourning, and it's powerful and it's perfect, and it shows like just how much Hera loved him. And, oh man. I hate it, but it's so good.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It is. It's super important.
But
because
and then
it does happen in media is like somebody dies, and then they're like, let's not explore that because it might get heavy. And it's like, yeah, it will. You just killed off a main character who had emotional ties to everybody. It's going to be sloppy and hard.
And another media that does it very well is WandaVision. I think WandaVision does a great job of Wanda mourning Vision. But those are only two examples I can really think of that do like a really, really great job of mourning the death of a significant other.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on Kane and Hera?
I don't think I'm good.
I guess.
Okay, Hereth, I'll let you.
Yeah, I guess.
I've been talking a lot. So.
I guess tragedy is just the double theme here because we're going to Jin and Cassian.
Oh man. Yeah, Jin and Cat. I mean, we obviously know how that plays out, and I would like to have seen more of them.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you guys think about Thane and? Sorry, I was reading Element 7's comment. Jin and Cassian.
I guess I kind of, when I think about Jin and Cassian and their relationship, I was like, that always felt like it was at the extreme very beginnings of possibly becoming something. That's how I always interpreted it. Like, I never saw it as this massive, like, love story. I was like, it always felt like they're like at that moment where you're just getting to know somebody and you're kind of like not in love or infatuated, but you're kind of just kind of looking at them a little bit different. Like,
you got a little crush, maybe.
This person's a little interesting to talk to. Like that moment in a relationship. And then of course, like the final scene where they're hugging each other. You can't like be upset at that. Like you're like, well, they're about to die. Like, who wouldn't want to hug somebody at the last moment, right? Like big emotions. But that relationship, and of course that final scene, like it always still gets me. Like always gets you.
Yeah.
I always go back to with Jin and Cassian, the scene I always think of is the scene of them in the elevator just staring at each other before facing off against Krennic. It's just like that, like 5 to 10, 15 seconds where they're just thinking about everything they've just gone through together. And like at this moment, like, yeah, we're going to kind of die together type of like, just that journey of they've just gone through is just so emotional. Like you said, it's tragic because it's like it's just festering enough where it was about to like take off, but it just never could.
Oh, I remember, like, because I didn't go see Rogue One in theaters. I had I just didn't get to see it. Let's not get into why. But I remember somebody explained to me that Rogue One is the story of the people who were never going to make it out alive, but because they died, the rebellion won. But that was a story, and like that was pre-warned. They're the people who didn't make it out, and. So going into the movie, I kind of already knew that everybody was going to die. But even then, watching that and being like, you know, what could have been, you kind of always wonder. And I think that's the ultimate big tragedy of most of the Star Wars couples. It's the what could have been if their entire lives were essentially not torn apart by being in a war zone.
Yeah.
Star Wars is essentially the story of people in a war zone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's sad to
I
think.
like what Element 7 said in the comment. He said Jin and Cassian's relationships echo their personal journeys, acceptance, and they come to the same arc together, which kind of sparks their kindship. Definitely the beginning of a relationship. Yeah.
I can't see
Michelle?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like, obviously, I feel like their relationship honestly is like, they knew like the end game. They knew they weren't making it out. So I feel like the relationship was honestly kind of just built on that. Like, we don't have time. Like, we don't have, like, there wasn't the time. They didn't have any opportunities to really, hey, let's like go on a date or like, let's get to really know each other. Like, it was kind of just like, let's do this. Like, and went with what they had.
Are any of you guys big Hamilton fans?
I am a fan.
It's like the last song. When my time is up, well, I've done enough.
Someone's gonna edit that. No.
It's like my heart.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, but I would kind of almost put that song
With
more
with Kanan and Hera.
Yeah, like who tells your story when you're gone?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh man, Hamilton is so good. I saw it on Broadway in December, and like
Nice.
so freaking good.
I saw it a couple weeks ago in person. It was great.
Something to watch Hamilton.
Yeah, and dude, you need to watch. It's like like you'd be surprised how good it is. And like just like like I was listening to it today when I was like running, and like just little things that you like pick up, and like just little historical references that you keep picking up. It's like, man, this is like wonderfully done. Like this is done extremely well.
Yeah.
But going back to Cassian and Jin, like that elevator ride, I feel like is their moment when they both know that they're not gonna make it out, and they're like, let's just do everything we can together
And
before the inevitable happens.
I just like what Cassian goes through with like when Jin and Krennic are having her face off, and Jin's about to like put more like shoot like Krennic more when she doesn't really have to. She's like, no, like he's gonna die anyway. There's no reason to kill him. Like moments like that, like again, it's really just really like underrated, just like of a relationship of like if you really think about it, because not a lot of people talk about Jin and Cassian. I feel like a lot of people like put other relationships over it.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to see what they're gonna do in the Andor show, if they're gonna give him a relationship or not. That could be something really interesting there. I think Rogue One in general is underrated. Like I was watching it the other week and I was like, damn, like this is good. Like this is like really good.
It's good. It's good tragic storytelling. Because I mean, if you like walk into Rogue One, you have no idea what you're getting into, right? Like no one has told you what you're about to get into. There's like, you have a lot of hope. And then there's a point in the movie where you're like, they might not get off this planet, but the mouse is not really gonna do it, right? The mouse isn't gonna do it. And then the mouse does it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Damn. They actually just did that.
They did that. And I mean, also coming from the standpoint of Star Wars usually has a happy ending. Like, some people may die, but at the end, there's going to be like a celebration with the Ewoks.
Hope prevails.
And this is a story where there's like, well, I guess it kind of does end on a good note, because the last thing is Princess Leia saying hope. And so it makes a point that all of this, there was a point to all of it. And all of that death meant something, because we know that they got the plans, which led to eventually long-term them winning. So it was all for it. But like, it was not a happy ending for those stories. And they were the focus, because a lot of times in Star Wars, when people die like this, they're not the main characters. The main characters all died. And in this circumstance, Leia was not the main character. She was a side character that happened to get the plans. But
yeah,
it did give us like I still think one of the most epic scenes in all of Star Wars history. That dark hallway.
Oh yeah.
You're sitting there and you're like, and then you hear the breathing and you're like, oh no. Oh no. And then like I remember like sitting there like screaming. I was like, holy shit, like as Darth Vader's just going. And I was like, there he is. Incredible. There's Anakin.
I have such an interesting
There's Anakin.
Sometimes I just randomly call Darth Vader Anakin. I'm like, there's Anakin.
Well, you know what's another Anakin moment is whenever he's fighting Luke and Bespin, and he turns off his respirator. And then you just hear behind him, you're like, oh my god.
No, somebody like, no, I remember now why I just called him Anakin. Somebody like made a Tumblr post, and they were like, that whole hallway was dark. Darth Vader turned off his life support system to turn on that lightsaber to make it look epic and scare people. They're like, that was not Darth Vader, that was Anakin. And I was like, yeah. And like, I'm gonna literally put my life on the edge to look cool. Once that Anakin just pops out.
And like, I have such an interesting relationship with that scene is because I saw Rogue One originally in an IMAX theater, so like there's like more people and like with the scale, you're just like, what the hell?
Right.
I wish.
But
oh my gosh. Yeah, and the 4 hour, like if you watch back to back into A New Hope, flawless.
It's
I would
flawless.
love to. I haven't done that.
It's such a good.
Oh, I
film.
did. Oh, I did. It was like, oh.
It's like the perfect way to watch it.
It is. And like you almost wonder, like introducing someone that's new to Star Wars into Star Wars, like would the best way to be put them in Rogue One, because then like everyone dies and it's new, it's modern,
It's
and then
way
you're like,
more
oh
heavy
crap,
than the whole story.
yeah.
If
And
you
then
start
you get into the actual storyline. So it's like, I feel like if someone's willing to put in that time, then that might be the best way.
And it slowly introduces them to the Force in like a casual way that like feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Chirrut. Chirrut's awesome.
But
But yeah, I think we can kind of move on to the final relationship we'll talk about, Rey and Kylo, which is a very interesting one because Kylo again has no clue how to flirt. Like,
God damn.
man has no game.
It was like the
Like
least relationship.
zero. Yeah.
I just love how his first result to flirting is you're nothing, but not to me. It's just like
You're
little
nothing.
stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, you're such a Skywalker.
One of my all-time favorite moments during well, I have a lot of favorite moments with Kylo, but like one of my favorite moments is like they're standing there and she's like, she's Elena, she's like, you killed him, and she's like mad. And Kylo's only reaction is, can you see me? Right. And I'm like, focus.
With the shirt
Focus.
off, Kylo.
Then if you don't focus right now. Because like I'm like, the most important question in your mind is, okay, but can she see my messy room?
I also just love
Like
how
teenage boy response. Like
I also love Kylo's like foreshadowing of when they first like have their first connection, and he goes like, "Wait, the effort would kill you. You're not doing this." Just like there's no way you can get your mind across this far across the galaxy. Which obviously the great foreshadowing for
Yeah.
Luke, but like I love like these little hints of like what's gonna happen later in the movie, like these little subtle
Mhm.
dialogue hints.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the dyad, like the whole dyad concept, I think is something that's just super, super cool. And that was like introduced with them.
Element 7 just
I-
said, oh sorry, I didn't cut you up.
No, you're good.
Element says no. Kylo's first PlayStation line was, I could just take anything I want.
Oh,
that line had too many of us feeling things.
yep. Understatement.
Everybody in the theater heard that, and like the she's and the gays and the days were all like,
Start squirming in their
Like,
seats.
also-
Like,
okay.
Ooh.
like I'm sitting there eating my food because I watched I didn't watch it in theaters, but I was just sitting there everything. I was like,
Just like,
Stop.
oh, shit.
There's too many of those lines.
that's gonna be a fan fiction line right there.
This- I love him. Like, he's bad, but like he's just broken, very broken.
He's like the bad boy that all the
He's a kick
girls like.
puppy.
But it's like
He's just,
Yes, okay, but that's
He really is. He's like the puppy that like got up and got like the roast beef off of like the fucking and then got like somebody like sprayed him with a water bottle and he's just like sitting in the corner quivering.
yeah.
So that's Kylo Ren.
he always looks like a wet dog. He does. Like
No.
in the Rise of Skywalker fight, when he's just like walking through like the mist of everything, and he just looks like a wet dog.
That's
I don't
fair.
know.
That's some same energy as like Mr. Darcy walking through the mist. Same energy. Same energy. It doesn't matter that he's about to get in a fight with somebody. I was like,
Yeah.
that had me feel something.
Mhm. He's also very wide. Like Adam Driver himself is just like,
Built.
he's not like fat. He's just a very wide figure.
Well, did you all see that picture? Like, what, like, for some, like, fashion place, he did, like,
Burberry.
the Burberry
The
photo.
Burberry campaign.
He on a horse.
I was
It
looking
is
at
Adam
those
Driver.
pictures last night.
Photography that I have seen in this country's history.
Adam Driver Burberry.
Oh, on the
Somebody
horse.
should've-
And out of the water.
On the horse.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes, I've seen.
That should have been a National Geographic, like, winning an award or something.
It's
Like,
just like you're going over like a field of forest, and then there's just Adam Driver on a horse somewhere in the
Mm.
background.
Listen. I didn't know that I had a thing for Adam Driver until I watched these new little Star Wars movies. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I didn't find him attractive before then either. And then I'm
Well,
like,
we're supposed to be talking about the relationship.
We're all like focusing on Adam Driver.
Well, let's talk about Adam Driver before we enter that conversation. We gotta talk about Kylo Ren first.
moral of the story with Rey and Kylo, I think they had potential. I think it was just developed in a very weird way to the like end point where they kissed and then died. I just feel like, I don't want to say it was underwhelming, but I just feel like it could have been crafted better. But like you said, he has Skywalker blood. What else are we expecting from him?
Yeah.
But he also has like Solo blood. So like a little bit of hope, like a glimmer.
Maybe.
Maybe he grew up around Lando. Was Lando alive when he's growing up? I think so, yeah.
Kind of. And then once he gets sent off, he's just kind of with Luke, which is kind of the same situation as like Anakin, I would say. But instead of being a slave before, he's with Han and Lando and Leia.
Just, I needed something from him, but he just was Skywalker through and through, like you said, and just
fumbled the bag.
Well, and
big time. But it was also like on Rey too, you know, like she also.
Yeah.
You know, in that
She also was a scavenger and like didn't really know how to flirt.
The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, that movie there's a lot to unpack, but I feel like I agree with Michelle. But I think what happened is they ripped themselves into a corner. They wrote themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
With these two characters,
Mm-hmm.
and it got to the point where it was like, okay, so let's say that he survives and he doesn't die. Like this man has committed how many atrocities across the galaxy? We're not letting him walk. And no, he going to like space jail. Or he dies and redeems himself with like the Force. And so I just kind of feel like there was a point where I was like, it just really feels like there was no other way out with the way that they wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, imagine Rey brings Kylo back to the base.
John,
and she's like, "Hey guys,
like,
look at my new boyfriend."
Finn would have been like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, like everyone just came back and be like, this man has been responsible for the death of trillions of people."
Yeah, literally.
I don't think we can let him live. And then Rey would have probably been mad. Like it's just like him dying almost was happier.
It needed to happen.
Go through that.
It's like Jin and Cassian. Like there was gonna be there was nothing. Like it wasn't gonna go anywhere. Someone needed to die.
Yeah, and that's like how a lot. And like that's how like Lost Stars, like that's why it hurts so much. And this is like light spoilers, but like they don't like no, I'm not even gonna say because I don't want to spoil it, just in case you guys read. But
I will say this
it
about
just
Kylo.
hurts so much.
I will say this about Kylo and Rey's relationship, which is that when I think about it, it kind of takes me back to kind of thinking about Anakin and Padme, because I always wonder, like, if I'd been a teenage girl watching this relationship, how would I have translated it? And I'm like, I totally would have fallen head over heels for that. I had been like, they gotta be together forever. They're like ride or die for Reylo. If I was a teenager, ride or die.
Right.
And because I think that there's something extraordinarily innocent within their relationship, in the same way that there's something extraordinarily innocent with the relationship between Padme and Anakin.
Yeah.
And I can't really put my finger on it, but it's like this adolescent, not naivety, but maybe some level of naivety, of like this playfulness that you can only find at a certain point in your life. Like that level of playful. Does this make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in an adult relationship with another adult, it feels very different than how it would have felt when I was engaging as a teenager. And so when I look at Rey and Kylo, Padme, Anakin, I'm like, that is how I remember what it feels like to be a teenager engaging in romantic interest. It is those relationships. It's a little bit naive. It's a whirlwind of big emotions that you don't always know what to do with, but you just know something about it feels happy and good. But the reality is that maybe in hindsight, it wasn't always good.
Yeah, and again, I don't know why this went to mind, but like I always bring this up when it comes to Rey and Kylo. Like again, I feel like this is just shout out to Jedi Smart because he always brings this up anytime Rey and Kylo gets discussed. It's like the iconic hand touch scene of like how it's very similar to like a sex scene of like how everything starts, like how the hands like the way like the tension builds and like the way it's like it was very shot in tension like that. That's the thing. It's like that's the.
Well, and then there's the flick of the lightsaber and Rey grabs it.
Yeah.
With the hand.
Yeah.
Once again, another moment in Star Wars history that everybody was like, write that down. Fan fiction writers are like,
it's like the SpongeBob scene, like write it down.
Yeah.
I honestly don't get the hate for that fight too. Like I was watching it the other day and I was like, this is badass, man. This is badass. Like Rey stabbing people through their heads and what?
The Praetorian
the
fight.
throne room scene.
It was beautifully organized.
I thought it was like crazy, like awesome. Like people like, I feel like a lot of people slow it down frame by frame.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, sure, but like if you slow it down frame by frame too, Grievous switches lightsabers like 3 times throughout the fight. So like, you can do that with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But like, they just like to do it a lot with that fight. I'm like, well, it looks cool. Like if you're just watching it, you're like, wow, this is
like appreciate it for what it is. Don't need to analyze everything.
Yeah.
Because like again, like you jokingly said, like if you like take any choreography fight from Star Wars, you could pretty much break any Star Wars fight apart. Like I can break apart the prequel fights pretty easily. Like,
yeah.
There's no effort.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, and I will admit that I was part of the problem on this one. The Book of Boba Fett, the final like big fight, where like the guy like does like the turn thing and then he shoots. Like, I was like, come on now. But a lot of us were making fun of it, and then somebody was like, look, if y'all like this is Star Wars. What are y'all talking about? And then somebody like put it to me well, and they're like, didn't Din Djarin do the same thing like earlier in that episode? And I was like, now listen here.
He said, did Djarin do the same thing in episode?
I was like, now listen here. Like, what we're not gonna do.
He did.
He did the same thing. I went back and watched it. I was like, okay, I was like, Din Djarin get away with something here.
Yeah, one of our friends, Grandmaster Bale, he stitched someone's video, and it was of that guy spinning. Then he cut the stitch and put his video, and it was of Din spinning the episode beforehand. And he was like, "Huh." No one said anything when Din did it.
I remember with mine, I did like the opposite. I went the full blown of like, I'm gonna point every flaw in every single fight, just like to make a point.
Yeah, I mean. Was it goofy? Yeah. Did it look kind of stupid? Yeah, but like
it's Star Wars.
So does a lot of things.
Well, and I
it's
think
also Star Wars.
That's a really good segue back to Rey and Kylo. Is it goofy? Is it weird, sticky, emotional, and like it's just kind of like the first time you make a cake. You don't know what you're doing, and the cake comes out, and it's a little bit wonky. But it's still going to taste delicious when you eat it, so it doesn't matter that it doesn't look good. That's Reylo.
That was really deep. That was actually really, like structured.
You know the chocolate cake going to taste good. It just doesn't look good right now.
Exactly.
It doesn't look good. Element in the chat says it reminds me of Return of the Jedi when Luke kicked a non-existent person. No, not the Force kick. Like he actually kicked no one.
Like he just kicks the air.
When is that?
When Boba's flying through the air about to hit the Sarlacc,
and he just kicks.
Sarlacc.
He just kicks and no one. Yeah, so
and
like there's plenty. Oh wait, I do know what you're on the sail barge. Yeah, like there's a lot of things. That like I would like to see a broken down endgame fight. Because I'm sure there's some wacky stuff going on in the back that people like. If you were to break it down frame by frame, which it like doesn't need to be. It looks amazing. Like, I'm sure there's stupid stuff going on in the
there is.
background of.
Yeah, sure.
There's like a million people there. There's definitely something going wrong, but like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
take away from the scene at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, on another note, Daisy Ridley is back on
Social media.
Instagram,
She is.
which is awesome. Like, I was going through her comments and I was like, wow, like these are all positive comments, I feel like, for the most part.
which is good.
I like really didn't see any like negative comments. It's like, oh, like good, like she's not getting run off again, which was ridiculous.
Right.
I think anything else? Any other relationships you guys want to touch on?
Well, you invited
Star
me,
Wars? Is it-
who's like a healthy relationship with Din Djarin. We'll take 5 seconds to talk about Din Djarin and Omera.
Oh
that-
yeah, I was thinking about that.
Like
the
that
entire
was
time.
like teased at in one episode, and we've never addressed it again in this series, and it's never sat right with my soul.
Wait,
He was
and
ready to
who?
risk it all for that woman. Like you saw, like she was taking off
Wait.
the helmet. He was like,
Yeah, it's the one.
Boy,
before.
who?
thinking about it. He was like, I mean,
Wait, who are we talking about?
Din Djarin,
Din and who?
the woman who did like the blue shrimp.
Yeah, the season 1, episode 4, for like Omer from the. Like,
Oh,
yeah, he almost threw his
yeah,
entire
from
life away for her.
Sanctuary. Yeah.
And he was thinking about risking it all. He was like, I could be a farmer. He was for a hot second. He was like, I mean,
He's like, should I?
Like-
No.
he was watching her shoot, and he was just like, he turned his head too. He was like, and I was like,
Literally, he was going to do it, and then Grogu got thrown. And he's like, I guess I gotta leave. Bye.
I was like, my head canon is that they totally. I don't know what the rating
Did
is on this podcast and what we can say, but I think they hung out as
Say whatever you want.
Oh, they totally had sex. They totally. They totally. That's my head canon. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. You think? I wonder if there's gonna be any tension, sexual tension between Din and Bo-Katan
No,
next
don't
season.
put that energy into the world.
I don't want it.
I don't
but
want
I
it.
wonder if it's
I
gonna
don't-
be there.
I don't want it. I don't need it. That's okay. Like I know there's a lot of people who criticize John Favreau and Dave Filoni's writing. I swear to God, if they do that,
It'd be messy.
like
For a while, I was worried that they were gonna do Din Djarin and Cara Dune, and I was like, no, they've got like a fantastic like friendship going on. Don't bring romance into this.
I don't think we're gonna see Cara Dune for a
We're not gonna
while.
see.
No,
we're not
I
gonna
want-
see Cara Dune. But like at the time, right? When back in the day, I was like, this is a fantastic friendship that they've written and
Mhm.
developed. Don't turn this romantic.
but
Yeah, for sure. I feel you.
like I was gonna say, I feel like we kind of ran out of time with the episode a little bit. So just kind of usual conclusion wrap up for any podcast. Like, who are you? Where can we find your content and that kind of stuff? We'll start with Kiki since you went later on.
Okay, so I am on TikTok, Black PNW Lady. You can also find me on Twitter, same name, Black PNW Lady. I have a Patreon, I have a YouTube. Come through and support. I'm hopefully going to start making YouTube videos when I figure out how to do the YouTube, but it's difficult. So that's hopefully something I'm going to try to figure out this month.
And
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And Michelle?
Again, yeah, Michelle Aaron on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. That's where I am.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a blast. Shout out to everyone in the chat who is active. Real quick, we had Element 7, Charlie Johnson, Pods One Podcast, Brian with the Beard, Darth Choco, Darth Man, Escape Reality Film, St. Pat, and a few others. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. And next week, we're going to be talking about prequel love. So that should be a really fun time. We have some amazing guests who are coming on next week, a few newcomers and one person who returned. So yeah, until then, may the force be with you.
always.